Alrighty guys, it's officially that time. It's safe to say spring is here, at least depending on where you live. And officially it's not technically spring, not until March 19th, March 20th, but it feels like it here with the weather we've been having. We were actually really fortunate to have a couple 70-ish degree days over the weekend here, this past weekend. It was wonderful. I mean, it was a really, really nice little tease of spring and what's to come. It dipped down after that, and then the next day it was like 35, but now we're starting to warm back up again. There's some rain coming, but also some warmer temperatures too. And so I've had this video in the works for a while now. Like I've said before, when it comes to these seasonal lists, we do 4 of them a year, at least the main ones, you know, top 10 spring, summer, fall, winter designer fragrances. Typically I'll be adding things to them and removing things to them and changing the order around constantly right up until I shoot the video. Like I was making a couple minor adjustments right before I got on camera. So there's just a lot of, you know, tweaking and messing with things just to get it just right. But again, it's always going to be changing and evolving because my collection is constantly growing and changing and everything. And my taste is also changing as well. Like I said, we're covering designers here only, and so we're keeping it a bit more affordable. Now, some of these are a bit more expensive, but there's still a lot of affordable alternatives in here. I'll link all of these fragrances down below to discounters for you. That way you can save some money on these. And if you want to be notified of anything rare, discontinued, or hard to find coming into stock, you can jump on my mailing list or texting list at the link down below, and that'll get you taken care of. So we're going to start off with something a little bit more unconventional. This one's kind of different, but I wanted to throw it in as an option for cooler spring days. It's Philip Plein, No Limits, Super Fresh. So, you know, these are super tacky and a lot of people are ashamed to admit they might like them. You know, maybe some people like them, but they just don't want to say it. I'm okay with saying that I think that these are good fragrances. The original, this one, they just released a gold edition or something, which I haven't even opened up yet, but I do have it. So they're expanding the line, and again, the original and this one, they're really good in my opinion. They are something a bit unique. So as far as notes go on this one, we have C notes, white chocolate, and leather. So the original has dark chocolate and no C notes, and it does have leather. So they're basically just taking that DNA and of course making it a bit lighter and fresher. Now this is not a straight up aquatic scent by any means, but it does have a lighter, fresher overall composition compared to the original. The leather's still coming through a bit. Again, not quite as strong as in the original one, but I can tell you this would be a nice option for those cooler, more overcast spring days, you know, when the high might only be 50 or something like that, and it's cloudy out, got a bit of a breeze going, it's a little bit chilly still. This, with that sweetness, will give you something a bit more to, you know, kind of enjoy rather than wearing an out-of-place, super bright green minty scent for weather that doesn't really match that. So again, this might not be something that immediately comes to your mind when you think of a spring scent, but I wanted to throw it in just for something a bit different. Coming in at number 9, we have Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue Summer Vibes. So yeah, I know it has summer in the name, right? And so you would think that would make it pretty self-explanatory, but I really like this one for spring. Just the idea of it. I love how it smells. I've been wearing it here when we've been having this more spring-like weather. It's got cypress, lemon, and amberwood in here. It's pretty woody. It's a woody aromatic. It's not as bright and aquatic and fresh as some of the other existing fragrances in the line, and just compared to some other summer scents in general from other brands. You know, this one is just a bit different in that regard, which I like about it. It makes it stand out, but at the same time, it just has a bit more going on, which is why I would equate this to kind of more of a spring scent. And don't get me wrong, you could easily wear this one heading into summertime if you wanted. It could be a summer signature scent, right? There's no, you know, reason to have to go by the book and, you know, take it so seriously. These videos are simply guidelines to point you in the right direction. That way you can make some purchases as we head into the next season here. But it doesn't mean that these are the only spring scents, and it doesn't mean that you can only wear them specifically in spring. If you're trying to build up a smaller collection, you'll find that a lot of these will work well in other times of the year also. So again, just a guideline here. You can kind of experiment and play around as you so choose, but I think this one would work really well in spring, and again, you could wear it into summer too. Next up, we have Tom Ford Grey Vetiver Parfum. So the bottle looks really cool. It's kind of, I don't know, hard to pick up, just this chrome on camera with all the lighting and stuff. But yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory here. Grey Vetiver Parfum. So it has that Tom Ford Grey Vetiver smell, which of course you guys know what it's centered around, but it really is just a bit heavier here, richer, heavier, better performing, and I mean, just everything you would expect from a parfum flanker. Sometimes, you know, brands will label something as a parfum, and then they'll go in and they'll rework the scent to where it smells a lot different, and then they'll go in and rework the scent where now all of a sudden it doesn't smell a whole lot like what it is a flanker of. But that's not the case here. They're sticking true to the Grey Vetiver lineup here, and they're just making it richer, heavier, more full-bodied. You know, the Eau de Parfum has never been a beast mode scent, neither has the Eau de Toilette. They've just been your typical everyday work scent, school scent, classy scent that just has okay performance. But this one, it does take it up a notch. You know, of course, with that does come an increase in price, a pretty significant one. So this is one of the more pricier options in this video. But if you have deeper pockets, you just want one of the most premium, best performing vetiver scents you can get, check this one out. It's great for spring, but again, like I was saying earlier, you could wear this one into fall and winter as well if you wanted to, and even summer indoors. So you could get a lot of use out of this one. Next up, we have Bulgari Man Glacial Essence. So they're, you know, pumping these out every year pretty much. We're getting a new Bulgari Man. So this is not one of the newest. Well, it's one of the newer ones, but it's not the newest. I believe last year was Rain Essence, and I don't think they've launched or you know, kind of announced a new one yet for this year, but I'm curious to see what it's going to be because I like a lot of these. This one here has juniper berries, clearwood, ginger, geranium. It's another aromatic, citrusy, fresh scent, you know, kind of going back to it. And these atomizers are very narrow, not my favorite. But this is more so of a typical spring scent, something that just has that kind of juniper berry, kind of aromatic, slightly green freshness to it, the lemon giving it a little bit of a kick, and this clearwood note, which gives it almost a little bit of a watery feel, similar to the type of texture that violet leaf gives off, just that kind of watery smell, kind of just, I don't know, vibe, I guess. That's kind of what the clearwood does here. So again, it's not aquatic or watery in the traditional sense, but it just gives off that impression somewhat. Maybe it's not the most exciting thing ever, but it is one that is just really hard to go wrong with. You know, you spray this one on and you're gonna be set for any situation you could think of when the weather is starting to warm up a bit. We could also go for something like Ferragamo Uomo Casual Life. So this one here is going to be on the more affordable end of things. I believe you're typically looking at around $35 to $40 for this one. It's got violet leaf, coffee, and musk. So a nice little interesting note breakdown there. And again, this is one of those situations where you're combining a little bit of sweet with a pretty good amount of freshness. It's not a straight up coffee bomb, and it's nowhere near as sweet as the original Uomo and Uomo Signature, but it's also not just straight up fresh all the way through like Ferragamo Uomo Urban Feel. So this one strikes a balance, and that's what I like. And you know, typically for spring and fall, those are kind of in between seasons where you want a balance. You want a little bit of fresh and you want a little bit of sweet, because a lot of times those temperatures are going to be varying like by an extreme amount. In the morning, it might be cold when you go to work, and when you come home in the afternoon, it might be hot with the sun out. So it's nice to have some things that can kind of do it all for those months, those in-between months, you know. And then when you get into winter, you'll go for a straight up sweet scent, and summer, just all freshness. So this one just gives you a little bit of both, and I like the coffee in here. It just really helps to tie everything else together. Definitely worth checking out if you're on a bit more of a budget, or even if you're not on a budget, it's still a really nice one. Breaking into the top five, and typically the top five and top three is really where I start to shuffle things around a lot. It can be challenging because I have a lot of favorites. I have a lot of things that I like to wear often, but I also like to try to introduce new things, to the videos when it makes sense. And so that's just kind of always conflict. It's like, oh, should I put this in the top 5 or move this up to the top 3? But then I don't want to take away from this, and I should include this. And, so again, things are getting moved around all the time. As we get into this section of the video, the order matters less, because if it made it to the top 5 and top 3 out of my entire collection, that means they're really good, at least to me. And so to start off the top 5, a bit more of an expensive one, but still worth noting, Carolina Herrera Virgin Mint. Really, really nice, obviously, minty green scent. Green, aromatic. This one is bright, stunning, uplifting, and smells amazing. So, of course, it has mint, it has orange, some musk along with that geranium. I believe like a little bit of a bergamot in here as well. Great stuff. Smells so good. Nice atomizer, pressurized, magnetic cap. Truly a nice kind of, I don't know, almost like a peppermint and spearmint. You get a slight kind of, I don't know if you would consider it a sweetness, because sometimes spearmint has a little bit more of a sweeter, candied type of taste or smell, and then peppermint typically is more cooling and a bit harsher. And you kind of get a little bit of both. Maybe more so spearmint, if I had to, say which one it leaned more towards or which of them it was most prominent, it would be more of a spearmint. But it does smell really nice. It's one of my better mint fragrances I have in my collection. A lot of scents, will use that note, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily super prominent, but it is here in a really good way. And like I mentioned, it's a bit more expensive. It's borderline niche price. And yes, this is a designer video, but is what it is. I'm probably not even going to do a niche video. So this is going to be more of a premium feel. Again, there's a lot of other more affordable options in here. Next up, we have Gucci Guilty Parfum. I've talked about this one a lot. Ever since it first came out, I've actually been a really big fan of it. It's another one that's a bit easy to hate on because it's just another parfum flanker, but I do really like it. It's got juniper, woods, orange blossom, and one thing I've said since the beginning, there is a really specific and unique texture about this one that is hard to describe, and really the only way you can experience it is to experience it. Smell it for yourself. Sample it first, walk into a department store, buy a sample online, or blind buy it, whatever you're comfortable with, but there's something going on in here that just is different in a unique and interesting way. And so again, going back to what I've preached throughout the video, it has that balance. You get a bit of a sweetness and kind of a slight bubblegummy feel, just a little bit, not Invictus level, but it's somewhat there. And then you're getting a lot of freshness and aromatic kind of base as well. So this is one that just works really well for this in-between time of year. Bit more expensive as well, although not nearly as bad as some of the others. And it's been out for, I think, a little over 8. Did this come out last year? Or no, that was Guilty Elixir. Yeah, end of last year. So this has been out for a couple years now, and prices have come down quite a bit on discounters. It's getting pretty reasonable, at least compared to what this one retails for. So definitely scoop this one up on discounters. Don't pay retail. And it's a really good release with great performance as well, coming in from a true parfum concentration. Alrighty, breaking into the top 3. Now this top 3, this number 3 offering here is gonna get me into some trouble. So I'm fully prepared for it, and I don't care. I really like this one. Now, is this a money grab, a cash grab? Probably, but this isn't the first one, okay? This has been going on for a long time now, and it's not stopping. So, you see that thrown around a lot, and it is what it is. It's nothing new. If you're surprised by that, then, I don't know what to tell you. But I will say, compared to a few of their other offerings in the lineup, this is really good. And also, the retail price is painful, and I wouldn't recommend it. But it is going to be coming in stock on discounters, and if you want to get this one below retail, jump on my mailing list and texting list. It's the new Y Elixir. I love it. I really, really love it. It doesn't have that sweetness anymore. And this one is backwards, and it is confusing for sure, because when you think elixir, you think of Sauvage Elixir or something along those lines, and all of the other elixirs pretty much, where it goes heavier, richer, and sweeter. This one really doesn't. It's more in line with the Eau de Parfum Intense, which we got last year, which I also really like. But there is just a little bit more richness behind it. They list off frankincense and oud. I get 0 oud from this one, and I've worn this a lot. I don't know, this is probably not going to come through on camera. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can get some light on it. That's not helping a whole lot either. You can kind of see the level. That's not, you know, empty by any means, but typically for something this new to my collection, I don't, you know, usually put that much of a dent in it. Like, this has been a signature scent for me here recently. I've worn it a lot, borderline every day. I think it's great. Again, the price is a tough pill to swallow. It's confusing, and it might not be a traditional Elixir, but I really like it. And for me, it's one that I'm still going to continue to wear pretty heavily and pretty consistently as we continue to progress into spring. Once we get into summer, I'll probably switch back to the Eau de Parfum Intense. May even throw in some just standard EDP, some Eau Fraiche, you know, but it is what it is. I personally like this one a lot, but this really ticks some people off, which is always kind of fun to see. At number 2, we have Polo Blue Parfum, not to be confused with Polo Deep Blue Parfum, which I also really like, but this one's more, you know, traditional, a bit more classic because it's Polo Blue DNA, but a parfum pretty much. So this one's got oak in here. There's some orange. There's your kind of C note deal going on, some geranium if I didn't say that already. But I like the oak in particular. That's giving it a bit more of a stronger woody base, a bit more of a masculine feel. Not that the Polo Blue line was ever feminine leaning, but it leans in on this style of perfumery more. And this is something that we've gotten away from when you take a look at all of the other newer releases out there that are getting progressively sweeter and sweeter. This one is just maintaining more of that classic gentleman masculine energy. This one's been out for, you know, quite a few years at this point, 2 or 3 years or something like that. Not that that's a long time, but it's really moving quick here, it seems like, and the flankers just keep coming. But I like it. I think it's one of the better Polo Blues you can buy. I wouldn't bother with the original anymore when you can get the parfum. It's been on discounters for a while. Price has stabilized. It's a great release. It's really good for spring, pretty much any time of year. And ending this video with our number 1 spot. Love this stuff. Another one that might not be surprising. I love my Acqua di Gios, and typically they're really good for summertime, but I also have a few that I like a lot for spring. It is Acqua di Gio Eau de Parfum. So the best way to describe this one, because again, in a world where we have so many of these flankers now, it can be a bit overwhelming. This is, at least as far as in production, the most aromatic version of Acqua di Gio. So when you stack this up against the original EDT, Profondo, the Parfum, Absolute, and then some, you know, not in production ones like Profondo Lights and things like that. Again, this is the most aromatic, really focusing in on the sage, the lavender, a lot of kind of a C note in here, of course, some musk, all of that good stuff. That's what this is. Essentially, this is kind of like what Acqua di Gio Essenza used to be, if you guys remember that one, and ironically has a pretty similar looking bottle too. There's quite a few differences between the two still, but this is as close as you can get to Essenza today. And you might be confused to see that Acqua di Gio Profumo / Parfum isn't in this spot as well. Surprisingly enough, I typically wear that DNA more in summer, which seems backwards because it has incense and patchouli, frankincense in it, but it's one of my go-to summer scents, especially summer evenings, absolute perfection. So you'll probably see that parfum pop up in my summer list. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. My top 10 spring designer fragrances for 2024. It's weird to say, but here it is. I'm happy, I'm excited to be getting into these fresher scents and really get these into rotation. Hopefully this helps you out, getting this out a little bit early so you could start purchasing some of these for the spring season. We have, it's March 19th through like June 20th or something, which by that point I'm really into summer fragrances pretty heavily. But spring's a pretty good time there where you can really start getting into some fresh stuff. I'll link them all down below, and for any of the rare stuff or new stuff hitting discounters that you might be interested in, jump on my mailing list and texting list. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.